Howdy, everybody.
How's it going? So we'll just kind of wait on a few people to get online here, so that way we don't get started and oh, this chair is really uncomfortable. Jason
We're
chose these
using
chairs
new chairs this time,
that
so
sink back. Well, they're not new; they're just new for live.
they're
So I'm trying to get
different.
used to it here. I feel like I'm just like sinking low in here, like a low rider. Yeah. So we hope everybody's doing okay and staying healthy, and we've just been really busy in the garden lately, just working on projects, as you can see in some of the new garden vlog videos. And the garden vlog just pretty much documents building the garden farm and our projects and everything we're working on in the garden. And tomorrow we've got a really cool video coming out. It's the start of our container garden. So it's our first little recipe that we are
Yep,
going to be sharing with you guys for a container.
yep.
It's
And
really
it's
pretty.
for, should I tell them, for my mom
Yeah,
for Mother's Day?
it's not a secret. She
Yeah,
knows we're planting them.
yep. So it's a pretty cool combination. We think that
It's a winner.
that you like them.
It's a
Yeah,
complete winner. You guys are gonna love it. If you love flowers, and I always love more foliages just because it's easier to maintain. But Karen loves a lot of color. That's the my mother-in-law's name, Jason's mom. And every year we plant her up these containers. So this year I wanted to do kind of something different, and you'll see in the video tomorrow. I don't want to give too much away,
right.
you know.
Well, we could talk about some of the stuff that we did this weekend.
Sure.
We feel like we got quite a bit accomplished this weekend, and the last two videos that came out kind of show what we did over the weekend with
Yeah.
getting a couple trees planted
And moved.
and moved.
Yeah.
Another batch of peas planted.
Yep.
A raised bed started. Casey got some raspberries planted up.
Yep, and then got the inside of the science room planted, which we're calling the kid coop now.
Yep.
Just because, I'm sure there's going to be more than science going on in there.
Hi, Joanne. Joanne says hi. Suzanne, hi to you.
Hey, guys.
Hope you guys are doing well.
Yep. Yeah, and we just been working on a lot of stuff, just like I'm sure a lot of you. It's really nice to be able to be coming into a season where we have something to do with having to stay at home. If this stay-at-home order were to have happened during the winter, I think it would have been a lot harder.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Because it's like you really can't go outside to do much. At least we're able to stay busy with not only work. Not too much has changed for Jason and I with work, because we both can work from home. But overall, just having all these projects, and the kids can go outside. That's the main thing. The kids aren't cooped up. So that's what's nice.
Yeah, absolutely. So, hello to everybody who's with us so far. Melissa, hi to you. She's wondering what material we have between the raised beds. She said she did pea gravel. Well, we did too.
Yep.
And we actually love our pea gravel. It's not the easiest to walk in, but it's the least messy, I feel, out of.
Well,
it doesn't track in the house.
I think it's easy to walk and work in, as long as you don't put it in too deep. If you put it in and it's like, any more than 2 inches deep, that's when you start feeling like you're sinking. But in our first garden oasis, it's very thin and it's super easy. But in some of our other areas, I can see what you're saying. But
yeah, yep.
just be sure not to lay it too thick. And a lot of people always have questions about the weeds too. We don't get many weeds because before we started the project, we actually scraped the ground a few inches, and we hit clay soil, and that's the main reason why we added raised beds to our main garden spaces, because the soil was so clay-like. So by adding raised beds, we were able to control our soil and really create a good combination for growing.
Yeah, and so beneath the pea gravel, we've got the weed barrier that we laid down. So any of the weeds that do pop through, because there are some now, they pull out super easy.
Yeah, and what's really easy too is you can just use a metal rake and just move the gravel around, and it's like they come up with the gravel, and then once they're like popped up on top of the gravel, you just leave them. They dry up, they shrivel up, and they're
Right.
no
That's-
longer there.
Yep. So yeah, she thinks that she might have did it a little too thick, which that's okay. I mean, you can take a rake and just kind of
Yeah.
maybe rake some aside into a pile so that you've got some. Over the summer, you might have some areas that end up being a little more bare than others, so you can move it around or use it
It's always
somewhere
good
else.
to have
So
extra to fill in as the season goes, and who knows, maybe you'll expand, start making a little, stone pile to where you can store it even in pails or something. And
yeah.
just make a little more shallow, and it'll be easier for you.
Yep. Miss Kristen says, "Love watching you guys. Thanks for your videos!" Exclamation point.
Thanks, Miss Kristen.
Appreciate you sharing and filming the to-do list. Great idea to reseed peas. So, yeah, that's something that Casey and I talk about. Casey does a lot of lessons. In fact, we filmed one right before this where she does a container garden lesson.
A new recipe.
A new recipe. But then a lot of our videos are us building the garden farm and our pretty much never ending to-do list. We've got our list of things that we're going to do this year.
Yep.
But overall, I mean, the list keeps going and
Yeah.
going, and next year we'll have new things to do. So we're glad that that you like that too, because
Yeah,
we love
and-
showing that.
And in those videos, there's always something to learn. It's not just, watching us do things. So if any of you are new out there and you're like only here for the gardening lessons, those are great because they're informational, but the vlog also shares tips along the way of building the farm and taking on garden projects, and from like planting trees to planting raspberries to, there's always something and that's where you really see the progress of the gardens, is in the garden vlog. The lessons are specifically tailored to share and teach on something specific, whereas the vlog is pretty much the documentary of the gardens from the very beginning to the very end of the season. So
Right. Yep.
and the winter gardening now that we have the greenhouse.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
It's
so
it's cool to be able to keep it going
Yeah.
throughout the winter. So.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I watch you guys all the time. I'm going to try the green stalk method. Any suggestions?
The
I
green
don't-
stalk
I'm not really
method.
sure. I know what the green stalk method is. You'll have to elaborate on that
Yeah.
for us.
Yeah.
From Trinidad. Hello from Trinidad. Hello from Wisconsin. Let's see. One day y'all will look back and be like, "Wow, how did we do all of that?" Yeah, I mean that's one of the coolest things. Even right now, to be able to go back and look at some of the videos
Yeah.
that we did a couple years ago, and see how things looked before they look the way that they do now. I personally love watching that stuff. Our girls
Yeah.
do too.
They love it, yeah.
It's just such great memories. It's going to be really cool when we're older, and maybe the grandkids will be around, and we can kind of show them, hey, this is what it used to look like before
Yeah.
we did anything.
That's so
and-
crazy you brought that up, because lately I've been thinking, like, you know what? When we have grandkids, they're
Yeah.
gonna love this or that.
Yeah.
They're gonna love coming to Grandma and Grandpa's farm.
Oh yeah, yep.
And
Running through all the raised bed rows and the gardens.
yeah,
and-
and then just on like Facebook the other day, which I don't get to Facebook a lot. I still post there every day, but I kind of had to choose which one to keep up with comments on. But I was there, and you know how they pop up those memories?
yeah, 4 years
So,
ago. Or...
Yeah, so this was like 6 years ago, a memory popped up, and it was of our gardens. And there were no gardens, it was just lawn and our tractor just waiting to tear it up. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, like it has changed. And even like since last summer already, I feel like it just looks completely different because, it's like the plastics on the greenhouse now, the berms are in, the science room and that whole kid garden and fruit garden is being installed right now. So everything has just changed drastically.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe it's just because it's like the bigger projects that make more
Yeah,
of a difference.
It changes quickly. I mean, even the stuff that we're doing now. So things kind of went in phases from north towards the south. So like
Yeah.
our house, which is furthest north, we did our first garden oasis right up to the house, and then we had our second addition to the south of that, and then now this year what we're working on with the kids garden and the fruit trees, that's to the very south of the property. So it's been going in stages like that, and it's really cool now
Yeah.
just to kind of look out there and see the new area and how it's changing the look of the landscape, and the berms, of course, too. You know.
Yeah, and I'm really hoping that we get to add a barn next year.
Yeah.
I really want to, and nothing big, nothing big.
I just said yeah out of reflex, really excited, like.
You all heard it. It's a yes. It's a yes.
There's no denying it now.
Nope. Replay.
I do too. I do too. It's just, it's of course everything comes down to budget. I'm
Yeah.
I'm not a cheapskate, but I definitely.
But Jason takes care of our finances, and I sometimes feel like he's cheap, but really he's just.
I'm just making sure that
he makes great choices
for the future.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just we're just hoping that
we're just hoping that it'll happen.
The kids would love it, though. I know they would.
I do. I mean, I would too. It would be because part of all of this too is we're able to put out a lot of good stuff and
yeah. Well, I think though too, what's really nice is every year I feel like we transition the gardens a little bit in ways for the kids as well, and you'll see that. That's why I think a lot of times the vlog is more of like a family garden vlog, because I guess for me, my ultimate goal as a mom is to make sure that my kids' interest stays in the outdoors and more of like the nature things. And I mean, it's not like, we're trying to just, give our kids everything, but I just want to be able to make sure that like I can give them at least a little something new every year out in the garden, or with adding animals, something that keeps their interest there, because I think it's so easy for kids to get caught up to just stay inside, be on iPads, because our kids are on iPads, but we really monitor that. But it's the new day and age, so it's
right.
It's become more work trying to make sure that their interest stays here. So that's my ultimate goal as a mom. And as it transitions and we do those transitions and one day we open up, we feel like the gardens will have something for every age, from a very young child to a preteen to a teen to young 20s, and then all of a sudden it's like retirees,
Yeah,
so it'll
for
just
sure.
have, I think, a little bit of everything through the years, and
Yep.
I think it's just gonna all come together and weather well, and I think it'll just create an ultimate experience for everyone to visit here one day.
Definitely. Crystal Johns, welcome to the channel. She just found our channel.
Awesome, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. So the Greenstock Tower is a tower garden, stackable
tower.
garden.
Okay.
So
yeah.
So kind of like raised beds, right? Small raised beds.
It's the tower. It's the tower garden. So I that sounds awesome. Let me know how you like it. I've never used the tower gardens before. But there's a gardener that I follow on Instagram. She's always trying to get me to do the tower garden, but I have how many gardens? It's kind of hard to take on a whole nother garden, but I'm always looking to do something new. I like
they look cool, and
do,
it's fun
yeah.
to try new things. So
Yeah, but it looks like you can grow so many things vertically. It looks really neat. So let me know how you like it when you try it this season. Keep us updated on that.
Suzanne asks, will y'all ever put in a pool? And yeah, that's definitely on our list as well. We've got an area off the south side of our house in front of the greenhouse right now. This is the area that we're mostly in, our garden oasis. But the way that our house is designed, it's actually a U-shaped house, and we've got a courtyard area in the middle that's pretty much just bare. It's gravel. There's a covered porch area. The courtyard's gravel. We did put a tree in there, so there's at least something. But that's where the pool's gonna go. So we haven't really done anything else in that area.
Why spend money on something in that area if you're gonna eventually put a pool? But that won't be for a few years yet.
Right, we got to keep saving for
that. We started a savings for the pool like a year ago. 2
Yeah,
years ago.
a year ago.
So, I mean, it'll be a few years. And I feel like, you know, Selah's like Jason when he was little. So I don't trust her around
Another
the
couple
pool.
of years will be
Yeah, I
good
just
for
want
her
to feel, you know your own kids, and maybe a pool just isn't a great idea for Selah right now. I could see her just jumping in without us around or without a preserver, and that scares me. So even though you could do a fence, but we just can't. It's not in the budget right now.
Yeah, yep. Melissa says, I started incorporating flowers into my garden because of you.
Awesome.
Why did I never think of that? Question mark. I love all the color and beauty mixing the flowers and veggies.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, why not? You know, it looks
Yeah.
amazing. You can benefit from both.
Well, you
and-
enjoy your garden in so many ways, and adding flowers is such a benefit because it draws in pollinators and beneficial bugs, and you really can't go wrong. And I mean, it's like you can be picking, you know, your good harvest and eating while looking at these beautiful flowers around you. And you know that I never really realized I was doing anything different until I started posting on Instagram like a year ago or 2 years ago, because I've always done my vegetable gardens that way. And all of a sudden people were like, wow, I've never seen anything like that. And I'm like, really? I'm like, oh, I guess we got something going on
Yeah.
here.
Right.
So I mean, ever since then I started, you know, sharing it, and through YouTube and Instagram, Facebook, all of that. So I just love hearing when people say that they're now incorporating flowers into their vegetable gardens, and I'm like, that's so awesome.
Yeah, that is really
You
cool.
know, it's just spreading happiness.
Right.
To me, it's spreading happiness.
Yep.
You know.
So someone asks, where's the best place to grow raspberries? Do they like to be up against something?
I actually just planted ours in a raised bed, so it's over by our strawberry patch, and that's in the new garden vlog video that we just posted this morning. So I don't feel like there's a specific up against something or not up against something. I grew up with a beautiful raspberry patch that my dad grew, and it was in his garden bed, and it was specifically just for raspberries, because raspberries, if you've ever grown them, they're gonna pop up all over. But he would always mow a path through the raspberry bushes, so it's like you always had somewhere to walk and pick your raspberries, which is really nice. But we're doing them in raised beds, and they're only a foot off the ground, and we know that they'll return because it's not even filled up all the way with soil. It's more just to like contain them from like sprouting up everywhere. And that's how we grow our strawberries. They come back for us every year, and they perform and produce well for us. So we're gonna give it a go with the raspberries.
Yeah, and the raspberries are like a stocky, woody type stock, so they don't really need
almost like a bush.
Yeah, they don't really need the support.
They don't need
of
support.
anything.
No,
So,
no. But our favorite variety is Ann. It's the golden raspberry. I just love it. I feel like the golden berry is like the true flavor of raspberries over the red for me too. But I do like the heritage. I mean, it's a very hardy variety, but overall, Ann does it for me.
somebody asks, did you design and build your house? And we did. And there's a cool story with that. It goes back to when Casey and I were on our honeymoon in Mexico.
Yeah.
We
Was that
were
like 10 years ago?
Yeah, we were sitting on our balcony, and we had this room that room didn't overlook the ocean. It overlooked.
I don't remember. We went on a lot of vacations before kids.
Yeah, but we were talking about our house.
Yeah.
We knew that we were gonna build. I was a builder. Casey had the land, so I mean we were gonna be building for sure. And so we started talking about it, and Casey's like, I want a U-shaped home, and I'm a builder, and I'm like, what? You're gonna have to draw this out for me. So she drew a, more like a square-shaped U, which made more sense. And then we kind of filled in we wanted a living room, a kitchen, a sunroom, kind of filled in the areas and what rooms we wanted, and then we kind of added the sizes and the detail and the design, and it was a cool process, and it's a very unique house. We love it. It suits our needs and our family.
And that's why you'll find some home videos here on the channel, even though we don't provide any home videos anymore. We're kind of more just like focusing on gardening. But in the beginning, when we started our channel, We did show a lot of home stuff because that's, you know, Jason's main business and job, and I was designing the main parade model, which is like their big show model for the year, and they have like a parade of homes where people can come and walk through it a couple weekends. And so I did that for quite a few years, and then this year was the year that I decided that we were just focusing on the Lawrence Garden Farm, and it's probably a good thing because then I feel like, you know, now that we're at this stay-at-home order and the kids need homeschooling on top of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it just, everything worked out because I pretty much kind of let go of a few things that, you know, extracurriculars is what I call them, because I really wanted to just have a little bit more time to not be so like stressed and just maybe have a moment in the day where I could put my feet up and also just enjoy with the time with the kids without thinking about the next thing I had to do. And it couldn't have come at a better time because now we're, you know, homeschooling like a lot of you right now, on top of doing all the projects and everything else. So I never really feel like overwhelmed now. You know, I just feel like good. I feel like I'm in my space and I'm doing my thing. We're doing it together.
Yeah, yeah,
you
and
know?
I'm happy to hear that too,
Yeah.
because I like when you're feeling good and you're not feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah, it's because
It
I'm not like,
simmer down, simmer down. So, yep. Let's keep from getting overwhelmed and
I'm
so
not
yeah,
really like a crazy person though.
no,
like
but
when I'm
it's
upset.
it's
But
definitely it's
like
been
anyone.
yeah, it's been a good mix this year. We do have lots of stuff going on. We've got new things going on with other aspects of the garden farm business.
Yeah, it's actually
so-
an officially a business.
Yeah, we've
too.
got a business checking account for it, and
Woohoo!
we're gonna be you know, we get the checks written out to there, and we'll have our own checkbook for it, and we're gonna run it like a real business. And there's a lot of different aspects of it. There's the physical, you know, property of it, and the things that we're doing here. There's the YouTube aspect of it. There's a lot of companies that reach out through Instagram and YouTube as well.
Yep.
So there's you know, business dealings there as well, and
So it's my full-time job
Yeah.
along with, you know, the kids on top of that. So I feel like it's a really good balance right now, and I'm just really happy with, you know, where things are right now. So
let's see. I don't know if you put your banana trees outside, but if you do, how do you keep them from falling over in the wind? Well, we're gonna be replanting these up into like huge containers, so they won't fall. Those containers are typically, if they stay watered, right? I mean, they shouldn't tip over.
well, if they're this big in that size container there, they will fall
in
over.
those, yeah.
So last year we got them in spring. That's when my family's garden center had them. They don't have them this year. Their garden center is called Wayne's Daughters Greenhouses, and they were only like this big. So we grew them all summer, and we thought they were really big because they were like this all of a sudden, you know. But then we brought them into the greenhouse over winter, and now they're that big.
Yeah, they every day.
So
it seems like there's a new leaf, and like it's really cool the way that the leaves grow. Is all of a sudden you'll look, and you know, the leaves are about this long, and then they get to be, you know, like this wide. But you'll look, and all of a sudden there's a rolled up leaf.
it's like a spiral
sticking out of the plant, and then it just opens up. So it's like in a matter of a day.
Yeah.
Every day I feel like there's another new one shooting out.
So they worked fine in those pots when they were smaller, but now that they're a little bit more top heavy, they would definitely blow over in the wind. So if you wanted to keep them in that pot, you could, but what I would suggest is digging a hole in the ground and sticking at least half the pot down in it. And then that way it's like really secure. That's what we actually do in one of our other gardens with a few containers. We have a garden where things don't grow as well. So what I do is I dig containers into the ground and put just like some potting, like the professional growers mix in there, the Jolly Gardener. And then I plant my flowers in there and they do amazing. Whereas when I just planted them right into the ground, they really struggled. They didn't do too much because the soil just wasn't that great there because of a pine tree. But with these, we'll bump them up into a larger pot, and you guys have probably seen them before, but they're like, you know, I think the 3 by 3, they're 3 feet round, 3 feet tall, and I think that that will be a perfect size for it to hold it up.
Yeah, yep, I do too.
Mm-hmm.
Someone asks, are those geraniums behind you? To your right. So I'm thinking
Yes.
that's the, yeah.
Yep, those ones are seed geraniums. So seed geraniums are by seed, and then there's also cut geraniums, which my favorite cut geraniums you can take cuttings of, which is nice. And my favorite geranium variety is for cut geraniums is the calliope. It's a very vigorous grower. You know, a lot of times the old-fashioned geraniums always grew slower and they only produced a few flowers, but the calliope is very vigorous. It grows large, gets large leaves, tons of blooms. The ones in the back are seed geraniums. I love that variety. It's the Pinto variety, and as you could probably see, there's that's the scarlet, and then the violet is back there, and those are so vibrant and bright, and those are ones that I like to add into like our little walkways, so that way also it's just like, whoa, a pop of color.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yep. Somebody said Selah is her dad made over. And yeah, definitely, yeah.
You got her pinned.
Yeah. Christine says, hey guys, one more week and hopefully the frosty nights will end for all of us in Wisconsin.
Woo!
Yes! Yes!
We're counting down, we're counting down.
Gardening from scratch. Hey, how you doing?
You made it.
Woo! Good to see you. Gardening Junkie says, I never wanted a vegetable garden because I've never seen beautiful ones until recently, yours especially, even though I grew up with a father that loved to garden. Well, thank you.
Yep, and that's kind of why I think I've always loved to intermix flowers into vegetables is, you know, my dad is a 7th generation farmer, and he always had a lot of gardens on top of that. So it was always like a regular ground bed, just vegetables, strict farmer rules, you know, space so far in between, hoe your tail end off all summer long in that hot sunny heat. You know, it was always like, let's bring pails out there instead of hoses to water. You know, it was always so much to where, you know, I wanted to make gardening more simplified and enjoyable for everyone, and I wanted my kids to want to help in the garden and want to be there, and that's kind of how, you know, everything we're doing now has come to life.
Yeah, yep, and I like it that way too. Let's see, we've got, how much property do we have? So we have 5 acres, and then we are surrounded by about 60 acres of open farmland. So I know when we do videos and we're showing things that may look like there's a lot of open land around us.
Yeah, well, my dad owns the 60 acres around us and rents it out to a local farmer right now. And our ultimate goal is to continue to purchase some of the property surrounding it so we can continue to expand over the years. And so
yeah,
that's our ultimate goal.
Let's see, I love gardening. I love gardening, but the one thing I cannot conquer is trellising. What's your favorite type of trellis for tomatoes, cucumbers, and peppers? And how do you use them properly?
Well, I don't use any for peppers. Every variety we grow is upright. For cucumbers and for tomatoes, a lot of times we will double up on the cages. There's also a good variety on gardeners.com, but we also love to not trellis our tomatoes. We have just as good of a harvest and production. And with the cucumbers, we actually let them just trail over the side of the raised beds. A lot of times we plant them in our 2-foot high ones, so they actually act as like a trailer in a container garden. And when we plant them out in some of our ground beds, we just let them spread out. We kind of pick up the old farmer ways from my dad in that way, to where he's always like, who has time to trellis and do all that? 'Cause he still gardens a few acres of just vegetables because they can and freeze a lot, but so we just kind of pick up on his tips with that, and it just keep it simple, you know.
Yeah, so one thing with the doubling up with the cages, the other thing I did too, because we put these cages in our raised beds that are 2 foot tall. So I bought these 4-foot stakes, wooden stakes, and I put them, 2 feet into the ground, and then they stuck out of the ground by 2 feet. So after I put the cages in, I took like 2 or 3 of those stakes and I pounded them in. That held them so that because typically it's gonna fall over. Those little metal sticks that stick in the ground, they don't do anything.
No.
So I would say if you've got something that's anchored into the ground, then you can kind of build off of that.
Yeah.
We built an arbor.
It conserves more space too when you're able to put them up vertically. Like for us, we kind of have a little bit more space. We're a little bit more lenient, but if you're really conserved on like the space or only have so much space, then going upright really does help conserve the space to allow more plantings nearby. And you were about to say about the trellis.
Yeah, we built a like a trellis type arbor last year. So we've got in our other raised bed area these 2 raised beds, and then in between we did 2x4s that come up off the raised beds, and then we took a almost like a metal chicken fence type thing and went up the sides and over the top, and then we had tomatoes and other things that crawled up the
So I did some different vines, like some black-eyed Susans, the moonflower, morning glories, but in between those I also added some tomatoes, so those vines actually acted as the ties for those tomatoes on the actual on the fence. So we never had to tie them up. They were always just like secured there by the black-eyed Susan vine or the moonflower. They all kind of just worked together, and then when we walked through, we were able to just pick the tomatoes right off. And we did the I can't even talk now. Okay, I'm forgetting what I'm talking about. But we get more of like the cherry tomatoes that get super large, just because that way then like they produce all season, the determinate. They produce they produce all season, and then that way you're able to pick them. They get super large, but then they're also kind of like staked up there, and it just like really, really nice.
So
I think I said I meant indeterminate.
Indeterminate. Gotcha.
Why am I having a brain freeze? I'm so sorry, you guys. It's been such a long day.
It's been a long day.
Cleaning the greenhouse, doing containers. Okay, let's just move on.
Someone asks, what's your favorite plant?
Oh, goodness. Let's see. My favorite plant.
I'll start. So
you go ahead. Yeah.
Especially for fall time, flowering kale is definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah.
When it comes to vegetable, and I guess you could consider that a vegetable too, but when it comes to my favorite vegetable plant, that would be the cherry tomatoes, or actually the sun sugar cherry tomatoes.
So for me, my favorite thing to eat in the garden are peas. That's why we plant a lot of peas.
Yep.
I saw comments with someone saying, "Wow, you guys must really like peas." It's like, well,
oh yeah.
Yeah. And then I guess my second favorite thing to eat are the lunchbox peppers, because they're so sweet and snack sized. I think for me, one of my favorite plants would be, oh goodness, this is hard.
Zinnia, maybe?
No.
I like the zinnia a lot
I think
too. Those flowers
the blue I love them, but I think the blue Victoria Salvia, because it's just like always there for you to just be like looking good all the time. Even if you don't maintain it, it's just like always looking good all the time. And I think my other favorite is like just any herb. I just love a good smelling plant. For me, I love like something that I can just walk up to and smell and enjoy, and I like to let them seed out, because then they draw in so many good bugs. Let's see. There's so many. I'm like, how do I choose?
Somebody asked, do we plan out our daily garden work and projects, or do we just go with the daily flow? It's kind of both. So this weekend, Casey had a list of things that she wrote down that she wanted to get done. And I definitely had, for me, I know everything that I need to do, so I was all about just kind of knocking off any of the items. But then at the same time, we've got Lana and Selah who, we still need to, we can't just work,
Like,
and that's
see you
it.
later,
So
kids.
yeah, so I mean, that does you know,
Play,
come into play
yeah.
with the schedule
We
of
kind
getting
of
things done.
alternate, Jason and I. We have to really work as a team, not only in the garden, but in parenting too, when it comes time to doing the projects, because our main thing is we don't want the girls to be neglected. We don't want them to ever feel like, oh, mommy and daddy are just always working, you know? Like, my ultimate thing is I want to make sure that we enjoy this time with our kids. That's the most important over anything, even work and gardening or anything. And I feel like they're at an age, and I think that they're always going to be at an age where they're extremely impressionable, and where they're picking up so much information, and the way that they behave, the way they act, depends on what we're doing like right now with them. So if Jason's really, you know, into a project, then I'm kind of, you know, like, okay, it's my role then to be with the girls. If they want to go and do a project with me, then I'll go and do my project. But if they don't, then hey, you know, I'm not doing that
Right.
project right now.
Yep.
And likewise for Jason, like if I'm, you know, in the middle of, you know, painting the science room, then, you know, I really needed to get that done. So he had to pretty much, you know, help with the girls during that time. If they wanted to work with him, then yeah, he was out there working, or if they wanted to just explore outside. But when they were, you know, hungry, or when they wanted to just have daddy time or read time or whatever, then that was his job to do that. And we always have to do, you know, the at-home school in the morning, so that takes up, you know, a few hours every morning. So we have to get up a little earlier, which, I mean, we already get up early, but we have to
Right.
get up earlier to get work done before they wake up.
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, you know, we kind of have like our daily routines, but then it's kind of like we alternate depending on which project needs to get done the most.
Right. You know, today was a day where it was a nice day out, and Casey needed to get the greenhouse. She needed to get the perennials outside so that there was room in here
Yep.
to bring the table in and shoot her video. So that's something
Yeah.
that we prioritize, that okay, we need to get that done today. And
I needed to get room in the greenhouse. We had no room left in here, and I needed room because we're starting our container gardens, which that new video will be out tomorrow with a new recipe. And we needed the space because we have a ton of containers, and I want to get those done. So that way, when it comes time to being able to plant outside, the containers are already done. I don't have to worry about those, because when it's time to plant outside, it's also going to be time to plant the berm. So that's going to be a double whammy
Yes.
for us.
Yes, which speaking of that, so we got contacted by Walter's Gardens, and they grow all of the perennials for proven winners. They're a huge you know, nursery and farm that started, I want to say, in the late 1940s.
Yep.
And yeah, they grow all of their perennials, and they contacted Casey through Instagram and asked if we wanted to try out some things, and they would send them over for free. So we've got a pretty big truckload
Yeah.
of stuff coming over that is going to be here either next week or the following week. Probably about 100
Yeah.
perennial plants. So we're gonna have so much stuff to plant on those berms.
We're gonna need every
including
little one,
trees,
every
too.
little one, because those berms are huge.
Yes. Yep.
So in between those two, then, you know, we'll be seeding some wildflowers, and this year I'm going to do just a few areas with just some annual wildflowers. Annuals are plants that don't come back every year. And the only reason why I'm doing that is because then it gives the perennials some time to start growing in. And as the perennials grow in, we won't need wildflowers growing in between.
Yeah. So somebody
I'm like, what's going on?
with this? Somebody asked, did we plant our nasturtium from
Yep.
seed? And they're sitting right next to me. So
We have 80 of them.
yeah, and I wanted to show. So the last time I was in the greenhouse, which was just a day or so ago, I feel like these have doubled in
Oh,
size.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
they are real. I mean, they're pretty much, they are ready to go into the raised beds and start
Yeah.
trailing over. So
Yep. So we did two varieties. We did the trailing and the kaleidoscope variety. So I'm really excited because last year we did the trailing. We always do the trailing, but last year we did the Alaska mix, which was really pretty. But I wanted to try something different because the Alaska mix was the variegated leaf, and that was gorgeous.
Yeah,
But
yep.
I just was like, yeah, let's try something new. So
Yeah.
we're going with the kaleidoscope variety, and it's not a new variety. It's just new for us.
So the other part of that question was, they tried to plant nasturtium this year from seed, but it didn't come up. any suggestions? I know
Well,
that could be a number of.
yeah, we seed them just like we seed everything else, and we have a detailed how-to video. We even use our homemade germination chambers while seeding those and germinating those. So if you want to go into the gardening video playlist, you'll find how we seed start all of our plants. And I mean, we had 100% germination rate on our nasturtiums again. We never really have problems with them, but nasturtiums can always be directly seeded too if you wanted to. A lot of people say that their roots are real finicky and real touchy if you transplant them, but we have never ever had a problem. And we seed them in the small cells, and then we even transplant them into those 3.5-inch pots because I know they get large, so that's why they go directly into a larger pot. And then they go into either a container or a raised bed, and we've never had an issue.
No, no. The Moody Foodie says, I learned about ornamental cut flower kale from you. I'm growing 10 of them this year, 3 color varieties. They are so cool looking.
Awesome.
They are. And the great thing about them is that they are like one of the, once you get to the very end of the growing season when not everything's looking so great, they still look amazing. I mean, they still look so good. So
Yeah.
they are a really cool.
Well, and the thing about them is they add great texture through the growing season, but then when it starts getting cold, when everything else starts turning a little bit more brown and less colorful, that's when they start to really, really shine because they get their most vibrant color when it starts turning cool. And that's why everybody has always thought of them just as a fall crop. Just as a, like a mum, like we plant our mums now, and yeah, we enjoy them later, but they're huge by later. So it's just all those things that you see in fall containers, they can still do well even now, but they'll just be even that much more ginormous by that time of year. So
Okay.
in a little bit. Okay.
So somebody asked about Fuzzy, and they said, does Fuzzy ever go out by the road or miss a night not coming home? So only one time, and that was
that was when she was in heat.
Yeah, that was when she
When
was in
looking
heat.
for a boyfriend.
Yeah, but now, so we did get her spayed, and besides that, besides when she was in heat, it's funny. It's like she knows the boundaries of our property.
Yeah.
She never goes in the road.
No.
And she never really goes off of the property. No. So it's kind of funny.
She
like
loves being inside just as much as she loves being outside.
Yeah.
So she never misses a night in, because we actually make sure she comes in the house when we come in the house for the day. She pretty much follows us around everywhere. So she's like one of us.
Yep. Silver Tongue Daywalker says hi.
Hey.
Hi to you. Good to I was gonna say good to see you, but good to have you here.
Yeah.
Can you give any advice on organic pest spray? So we'll put a link in the description, or I might be able to put one in the comments here. But we typically use Monterey. That's usually what Casey has the best luck with, right, Lana?
Yep, and we just showed that in a recent video too. It actually says it in the title, organic bug control. So we kind of go into detail a little bit about that, and then when you're watching the organic spray part, there's also another little tag that pops up on that time that also says, more of a detailed lesson, because that's what we used all winter long in the greenhouse here growing. So we have a lot of videos on that.
Yep. Heather says, love Wayne's Daughters. Been there 2 Fridays in a row and going back this Friday.
I'm going back too. Maybe I'll see you there.
Someone writes, looks like frost is coming this weekend.
Yeah.
Can I just cover my veggies and flowers with Walmart plastic bags?
I mean, I guess if it's overnight, but usually we just use like an old blanket, an old sheet, or even a regular sheet. You can wash it after. A frost cloth. I'm not sure about plastic, only because I don't know. I guess if it's just overnight, it should be okay. But I'm worried about how it may be on top of the plants. That I'm not sure. I'm sorry. But usually we just use a sheet, a blanket, or some frost cloth.
So Suzanne says, I've tried for 2 rounds to seed and grow the snapdragons and failed both times. Maybe I need to direct sow into the garden. I would say
You can direct sow into the garden. Just remember that they don't really like much coverage. So if you're going to be throwing them down into the garden, you can throw them in, but just push them into the soil, but do not cover them. When we seed them, we just let them sit on top of the soil and just very, very, very finely sprinkle just the tiniest bit amount of the vermiculite that we use on everything else on top for seeding. And then we put them into the germination chambers, and they are slow germinators, so they take a long time to germinate. But then once they start germinating, then they seem to be doing okay.
Yeah. Maximus and Co-Vlog says, shout out to you both. As I said earlier, you have both inspired me to get back into the garden.
Aw,
Well,
that's awesome.
yeah, very happy to hear that. Thanks
Very
for
cool.
sharing that with
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
The Moody Foodie says, thanks for the answer to trellising. Very helpful.
Oh, good.
I'm throwing out all of my trellises. That's hilarious.
I know. This year we took them out because they were frozen in the gardens. And once we took them out, like, Lana accidentally ran into them and poked her leg. And I'm just like, just get rid of
They're
those.
just so gawky
Yeah.
to handle, too.
I do like a couple, though, for some of our sun sugar tomatoes, only because it looks cool. And that's where we double up and put the stakes to really hold them. I just like the look because they kind of grow in there and then kind of canopy over. So I really just like the look of that. But last year, our best producing larger tomatoes, and even our heirloom, like our pink Berkeley and then the cherry, the small cherry large tomatoes, we mixed those together, and they looked better than any of those trellis tomatoes. Remember that over here?
That is true.
And they just covered the whole ground, and they looked so green and healthy.
And it was just as easy to you could just as easy see them and pick them and eat them. So,
but they do fall onto the gravel, so maybe that also helps that they're not landing into a lawn or dirt.
That's true.
You know, maybe because it's not soil there that they're sitting on.
Right,
and,
keeps a little more airflow there.
That might
so,
be. Yeah.
Do you do any canning with your veggies?
Yeah, so we usually do tomato sauce, pickles, corn, beans. But this past year we didn't do as much of that because I kind of wanted to cut back on a few things, and it was the worst year to do that. With all this at-home stuff and people were hoarding groceries, I'm like, of all years, I didn't do all that canning.
Yeah, I mean, we had some things growing in the greenhouse, which was nice.
Yeah, so that's kind of why, too. We
did freeze strawberries, so we had
yeah.
lots of strawberries.
But we did have the greenhouse, so that's kind of why, too, we were like, well, let's just grow some vegetables in the greenhouse, But now that we had our first year in the greenhouse, I think we're going to do a few things differently for next season.
Mm-hmm. Soil and margaritas. I love that name too because it's just soil and margaritas. They go so well together.
That's the best name ever.
Sounds good.
I'm a margarita girl too. Yeah. I don't know if that's why you called it that, or maybe.
Oh, I'm sure.
Maybe it's your last name.
Yeah,
which would be awesome.
He or she says, "I made it. I need advice for sunflowers in containers. How big of a container for a good bunch of them, like 10ish?"
I mean, the one time that I grew them in a container, super successfully, that they looked amazing in, was my 3x3 foot one, because they need a lot of root space. If they don't get a ton of root space, they'll still do okay, but they're not going to perform to their maximum. They won't get their maximum height, and their flowers won't get as large. But we do add them into our raised beds, and they do fine because our raised beds are open to the ground, so they have infinity to grow in. But if you're talking about a contained container, like something like this, if you want to put 10 in there, you're going to need that good large container.
Right.
Unless you're doing pro cuts. So pro cuts are a smaller variety of sunflowers. So if they're only ones that get, maybe 3 to 4 feet, and they're more of that cut flower variety, so not the huge flower, more of a smaller bouquet size flower, then I think those would be okay because they're, not as large like a big mammoth, right, or, the big sunflowers, and that would be okay, but you would still want something a little bigger. No matter what kind of sunflower it is, they get big roots.
Yeah, yep. Somebody asked, what is our least favorite plant?
Oh, let's see. Huh.
So I love the nasturtium, but I know I said this last year. It's like a love-hate relationship. So I love the
You're right.
nasturtium. I love the flowers on them. I love how it looks, but you got to clean them all the time. It's like
Hmm.
constant maintenance. So I don't know if that's a good answer or not, but
That's a great
that's my
answer.
answer.
I'm trying to think. I don't know. I'll have to think about that, and it'll probably just pop up. So I'll think about my least favorite.
Christine says, "Yay, you got contacted by a company to try proven winter plants.
Yep.
I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're super excited and very
Yeah.
pumped and happy and grateful, and it's really cool." So, let's see. Heather says, "I bought the last rose, but I am afraid to plant it yet outside. Is it too soon?"
Depending on where you're at, are you in Wisconsin?
Yeah,
'Cause then-
so
Oh, yeah, yeah.
yep.
Okay, then yeah, it's too early yet. Just wait a little bit. Like they're a little bit more tender than the other perennials, I always feel. And you know what? That's what my least favorite flower is.
What?
It was always roses.
Oh, okay. All right.
But
Well,
but
hey, you
this
gotta be
year-
honest.
But
you
this
know?
year we're adding the At Last because I mean they make roses so differently now, and it's not so much that I didn't like the flower. It's just the thorns and dealing with them, and they're always so finicky. But now they make them so much nicer.
The new models are just incredible.
They are.
The 2020s.
They're loaded.
They ride so nice. They smell so good.
They're resistant to disease.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Hey, Mom. My mom says she just got home
Karen?
from work. Glad she didn't miss us.
Yep, and we just
Glad to have you here.
planted up your container gardens, and the video will be out tomorrow if you want a little sneak peek
Oh, yeah.
of
Yeah.
your recipe for the year.
So somebody said, I just watched that organic bug spray video. So I know there was somebody, and it might have been you, I'm sorry, that asked about the organic bug spray and what we use. And I know in that video there would have been a link for it. So,
Yeah,
so
there
that
is,
would be
yeah.
a good one to check out in the gardening and what's the name of that playlist?
Gardening tips and just gardening playlist.
Yeah.
Or the upload playlist.
Let's see. Hi, Casey and Jason. I'm having the worst luck with all kinds of peppers. The seedlings with a few leaves start to wrinkle and curl. Any tips?
Have you checked for thrips?
Yeah.
That sounds like thrips. Thrips a lot of times will curl your leaves. We actually talk a lot about the signs of thrips through those bug videos. I mean, we have many of them, even in winter. In the winter, we really focused on showing a lot of like bug trouble and what it looks like. That's one of the main ones that we deal with here. I feel like it used to be like where, and I'm talking about like years ago when I was little, like when it just like aphids were the thing that you had to worry about. Oh my goodness, how are we gonna get rid of aphids? Now it's like anything organic gets rid of aphids, and it's like you're left with these thrip. Thrip came out of nowhere for us.
Nightmare.
Like I'd say like 10 years ago, I feel like that's when they started coming around. That's when we started seeing them at the garden center. Because I mean, I worked there up until having kids, so it's like that was always a thing we were dealing with. And even now, it's like the organic spray that we use helps them. It gets rid of what's ever there, but then it's like a week later, all of a sudden there's more. So
it's crazy.
it doesn't get rid of any that are like ready to come out. It just gets rid of anything that's there, and I mean, that's just what you're going to have to deal with when you're doing organic. You just have to be more consistent with the amount you're spraying rather than, if you were to use a chemical. I don't even know if a chemical would do it. Like, because they hide inside that flower, and if you want to check for thrip, if you have a flower, you put the flower up to your mouth and you breathe on it like you're putting like a steam on them, and then you'll see them crawl out if you have them.
Yes. Yep.
Check
That's
under leaves
the
too.
best way to check for them.
Yeah.
So somebody asks, what day of the week should we go for the best selection at the garden center? And if you're talking about Wayne's daughter's greenhouses, they don't ship anything in, so they grow everything. They put
Yeah.
it all out. So really, opening day, because that's the best selection of what they've got. I would just say get there as soon
I
as you
feel like
as you
get there
can.
as soon as you can. This year, it's been like they have like where only so many people can be in a greenhouse at a time. They're trying to control as much as they can. They're practicing, the social distancing. They're doing everything they can, but it's just like people are coming in hordes and they're like hoarding everything, especially the vegetable plants. Like I have to go get my vegetable plants this weekend, and I've never had to go get any that early. We seed start a lot of ours, but like there's different they seed like so many different varieties to where it's like, you go there and it's such a great selection, but my mom's telling me, she's like, you need to get here soon because they're just like hoarding these vegetables. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I guess like, their baskets always go fast, and they even planted more than ever. They also have the second location as like a second growing location. And in fact, I just saw my dad go by for the third time while
with this trailer.
With this trailer, he goes there, picks up a load, brings a load back. They're constantly driving back and forth, filling up from their other location, but they grow everything themselves, so they're not getting any other shipments in anywhere else. Whatever they have, they have. So the earlier you can get there this year, the better. And we did just put out a video on how to maintain those plants before you actually can go ahead and plant them outside, so that way they stay looking just as nice as the day that you bought them at the garden center.
Somebody asks, is it okay to use all-purpose organic fertilizer for citrus plants, or is that mainly for flowers and veggies?
I think the all-purpose is more for flowers and veggies, and they do have ones that are specific for citrus. I know Espoma does.
Yeah, and I want to, I was going to say Jack's might as well, but
that's not organic.
Oh, yeah.
You want to be organic with your food.
Yeah.
So I know Espoma does, because they actually have, like for our berries, we get a specific one just for our berries. And it's not through Espoma. It's actually, now I can't think of it. But right now we're actually trying out AgroThrive, which is also another organic fertilizer. And we're testing it out before we actually show the results, and you'll see that in the new video. And I use it on my raspberries. You can actually use it on raspberries, and on other berries, which is really nice because I didn't have an acidic amendment for the soil that was here at the moment when I planted them. So I just had to go ahead and get them planted because we're trying to just get things done. So we use the AgroThrive on it, so we'll see how well it does. So we're really trialing it on a couple different trees, some of our berries, and a couple of our tomatoes, and we're doing like a comparison between AgroThrive and the Espoma that we've used to really give it a side-by-side view, and then we'll share our findings once that happens.
So someone asks, what video of yours would you recommend for a newbie like me living in the UK? I don't know if you have any recommendations, but I guess
to gardening overall.
Yep.
I mean, I think what might be great for you, and it's not like the most entertaining, but it's filled and packed with information, is planting our raised beds. And this would be from last season because we haven't planted outside yet here in Wisconsin. Last season, if you scroll down the gardening playlist, you'll find a video called How We Plant Up Our Raised Beds. And that goes into detail on how we plant our raised beds. And I think that gives a lot of good information. I think also some of the garden tours, because then, you can really,
see how things are going to look.
But I think ultimately what's really good for a newbie is our podcast, which is called The Lawrence Garden Farm. We actually put out a podcast last week or the week before.
Last week.
Yeah, so it's gardening tips for beginners. So it kind of talks about, starting the garden, the soil we use, what vegetables to start off with. And on there too, we also have like our top 3 favorite flowers and how to draw beneficials into the garden. So I feel like on our podcast, that's where we do like more like in-depth talking other than right here in our lives.
Yep.
That's where we can really hit on the subjects of a lot of the questions that we get, because in video, a lot of times people don't want to sit and watch us sit here and talk, but on podcasts, people love it.
Yep. And the podcast is also called The Lawrence Garden Farm. So it's easy to find if you just type that into, any podcast search engine or Let's see here. Practical Modern Homestead. Hello there. Thanks for joining
watching
us.
today.
Hi, Sandy. Sandy's got a question.
What is it?
All right. So, hi, Jason and Casey. Where can I buy a huge pot like the one you put your King Tut grass in? So that would be like the T-Rex.
Yeah, so we got those at like a garden show about I want to say 5 or 6 years ago, and I haven't seen them since, but I'll try and get the information on that for you from my parents, because I can't remember where we got them, but I just saw my sister put out a few large containers. They're empty, but I'm like thinking, like, where'd she get those? They go to the garden shows and they don't ask me, and they just go, and I'm like, I want new containers. And then they never bring any home for me. So next year they won't know it, but I'm gonna be in the trunk, and I will I'll maybe do a video at one of the shows.
Yeah.
And that would actually be a good way to do it.
That would be a great video.
Yeah.
Yeah, will.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
Suzanne says, we all appreciate you responding to everybody. It makes us feel real special. Well,
cool.
thanks for letting us know that. We're glad that...
and we appreciate you taking the time to watch and hang out with us today. And
Bye.
Sayla.
Yep.
Sayla, what did we talk about?
Let's see. So, Heather asks, this is about that same container. How big is your pot that you grow the monster container with the King Tut umbrella grass every year?
So that's 3 feet round and 3 feet tall off the ground. So it's a nice size. It's actually the perfect size for like a statement container. And I don't even remember how much it was because it was so long ago.
Yeah, that I'm not sure. So Soil and Margaritas. I'm a she. My name is Roxana. And I love the drink. That's what I figured.
Well, so you didn't know if Soil and Margaritas was a she?
I assumed so, but hey, I don't want to, make a wrong guess there.
I mean,
I would have
really
put
look.
money on it, but.
Yeah.
Let's see here. What do you use to transport the garden containers away for winter? That'd be me.
He's right here. Get a set of these and you'll be set.
And we kind of, some
a dolly would
go in the garage. Yeah, dolly would be fine. Some go in the garage. This winter we left the big King Tut containers that the King Tut umbrella grass was in. We left, along with our raised beds, everything planted up. We did not take anything out in the fall. So we just wanted some height and some volume with everything in the winter. So
interest.
They stayed outside in the winter, and then we actually just cleared all of our containers out this spring. So let's see. How is the container of coleus your daughter planted? The one that you
right
two
back
did?
there.
Yeah.
You want to show it?
Yes.
Here,
Yes.
I'll hold this.
Yep.
Jason's
Okay, I'm
gonna
gonna
grab
get down
it.
real quick. Okay.
Come here.
And was that Sayla or Lana that helped
Sayla.
with that one? So Sayla, somebody asked a question about the container that you and Mommy planted up earlier this
Do you
year.
remember planting that container with me in winter time? That one back there that Daddy's gonna grab? Yeah. Come here. Well, he'll grab that for us, and
Oh, jeez, it just got water.
oh, I just
too.
watered it today.
Oh.
I don't know why he's acting like that. I lifted it up onto there.
She did.
Okay, so lower it down so they can see it. So it's pretty big.
It's big.
Yeah. And then turn it.
I was doing that on purpose.
Do that again.
Okay.
Do that again, Dad. Do that again.
So with containers too, they grow so much faster now because our days are getting longer. So when you plant them, when Sayla and I did, you're getting dark by 3 p.m. So whoa, be careful. Sit down now, honey. Sit down. So you're not getting as much daylight for them to grow and as sunny of days either, because during the winter we have a lot of cloudy, gloomy days. So right now it's like, it's growing even larger. I can only imagine what it's gonna look like.
Yeah, that thing's gonna be huge.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's.
It's pretty cool. And we even cut it all back, I think like a month ago, right? Remember when
Yeah.
I just chopped it back because the UB on the front, that hot pink trailer, that was actually getting thrip really bad, so I just like chopped it down to like almost nothing. And I think we showed that in a video too, didn't we?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yep. That it's okay
remember.
to do that. So
It's okay to chop it. Well, depending on what it is. Don't quote me.
So Angela says or asks, Casey, when you met Jason, was he interested in gardening or did it rub off from you?
I think it rubbed off, and I think the most important thing is like he wasn't, but it wasn't because he wasn't. It was just because he was never introduced or around it. And once he was around it, he loved it because we started off in our starter home kind of just on a regular city plot, a very small backyard.
Really small garden space.
Really small garden space, but there was no garden space until I got there.
Right, there was.
And
It was all just
along.
hostas, right? Was it just all hosta all the way around?
Yeah,
or?
and weeds.
And
So like, you know, I came in there and did my thing, added a lot of different garden beds, and then added a water feature, tons of container gardens, hanging baskets everywhere, sitting areas. It was just really pretty, and I think that's when he started like enjoying it because it was just mainly for relaxing, and we kind of brought that style here, but intermixed it with our farm style and the history of our land here, and you know, brought in more food because we had more room to grow that. And you know, this is kind of, you know, everything inspires what we have now. So
so Sayla, somebody commented about you. They said, "Hi Sayla, you are awesome. Keep shining and be so amazing for mommy and daddy. She is a natural in front of the camera."
yeah.
So they said that you're really good in front of the camera. And that you shine on the camera.
If Sayla had like a YouTube channel, like her very own, like, I mean, she'd be amazing at it. She's just got this personality, and it's definitely just like this shining personality. She's entertaining, and it's just like, I mean, look at that. And she's always trying to be funny, which is such a positive thing, you know?
Right. Heather asks, do you pinch all of your plants, or just flowers, or just certain types of flowers?
I pinch a lot of my plants. So I'm trying to
So
think.
coleus isn't technically a flower. She pinches those, right?
Yeah.
Hold on, I gotta read my question.
You know, a lot of people have asked, can you do a video on what can be pinched and what can't be pinched? But that video would be endless. So we mainly pinch our Sayla, sit down please, anybody.
Sayla, you gotta sit. Okay.
We mainly pinch like our coleus, our
Sayla,
petunias. When it comes to like, you know, zinnias or planting things right off, a lot of times like I'll snip the flowers off so it focuses more just on the growth when we first plant, and then allow it to flower and flourish. You know, I don't know, I pinch so much, but yet not everything.
Yeah.
You know, like lantanas, verbenas, like alternanthera. You could on the potato vine, but you don't need to because it's a vigorous grower. You know, like everything is kind of like based off of, you know, its actual performance. Yeah, its actual performance. Like with snapdragons, you know, like before I plant them out there, I'll pretty much chop all of them back. I shouldn't say chop them back, but take where like there's either a flower, a bud, or blossom coming, and cut that off so that way it just kind of bushes, because then that way it makes it bush, and then you get a ton of flowers at one point, rather than just like that one flower you enjoy it, and then when you cut it off, then you got months left before you get flowers. Whereas when you cut it, it focuses on making it bush out, and once it bushes out, all of those growths get a flower. So, you know, like there's just like different varieties. So, I mean, if you have specific varieties that you have questions on, just feel free to ask us, and then that'll make it easier for me to answer that question.
So Heather, who just asked the question, says, just wanted to say thanks for everything you guys do. I look forward to each and every video, post, and podcast that you put out.
Oh,
well, thank you so much. We really appreciate that.
We appreciate all of the support, because I mean, it just, that's what keeps us going, you know.
Definitely.
And all of your if you guys like, you know, when you guys comment on our YouTube videos or put a thumbs up on the YouTube videos, that's what keeps us motivated to keep putting out more and, you know, sharing more, explaining more. And a lot of times we'll even make videos based on your questions. And we like to interact with everybody. We don't just look at it as like, oh, we've got, you know, subscribers and comments, and, yeah, you know, like, we actually look at it as like, okay, this is our community. This is, you know, this is so much fun. Like, you know, we're building our community here together, and a lot of people have questions, or they even have tips that they do in their own garden, which are always welcome. We love that. And because we're not like know-it-alls, you know, like, I know a lot about gardening, but I feel like you never know it all. And I feel like there's always more to learn. And the only way that gardeners truly learn is through each other, I feel, because it's always through like trial and error. And if somebody's already had that trial and had that error, they've learned from it. And then when they share it, it's like, okay, then I know not to do that. Or, okay, I know to do that. And that's what I love about like even seeing the subscribers building here is I'm like, wow, it's like, our community is growing so much. Like, we're going to be able to provide so much for everyone, even through the comments and sharing, and it's just like amazing. And
it is.
We just love it.
Let's see. Should plants be covered and brought in just if it's just below 32 degrees? So say it's like 30, 31.
So I would say even before that, I personally am a little bit more always on the safer side, because I don't like plants to start looking really bad.
And,
so I will bring them in if it's gonna drop below like 40, 38 degrees. Anything colder, I mean, perennials, yeah, they can tolerate it, but just make sure to cover them. But when you're dealing with, you know, annuals or specialties, you know, like petunias or begonias or coleus or anything like that, you know, you really want to bring it in. They're used to being warm, especially if you're just buying them from a garden center. Don't just throw them outside. They're used to being in this like nice little warm protected greenhouse, and then you're just throwing them outside. And if Karen's watching, she knows she just sent me a text message of multiple pictures of this beautiful zinnia planter of Dreamland zinnias. And she said, I don't know what's wrong with them, but they're all laying over. And I looked at it immediately. All of the foliage and flowers were healthy and beautiful, but they were just like scattered, like falling over. I'm like, Karen, did you leave them out in the wind? You know, they come from this protected greenhouse where there's no real wind. So their stems are still transitioning too. Like, plants need to have a transition because that makes their stems stronger, and that's how they can stand up stronger. But if they come from a greenhouse outside into this windy day and they're getting wind whipped, they're gonna just lay over because they're weak. They're very weak. So what you want to do is, so what then I told Karen is, she said, yeah, she said they were out in the wind. Sorry, Karen,
and it was super windy too.
So I told her, you know, in that round pot, put little stakes around the outside of the pot, and then just wrap a little jute rope or string or whatever you have around it, and that'll draw them back towards the center. And then bring them out when it's not windy for the next few days, when it's nice out. And then they'll start gradually, you know, growing up better, growing together, and getting stronger. Eventually you can take that, you know, trellising off around the sides, but because it had such a flop, you want to kind of help it come back. And that's, you know.
Yeah. Let's see here. Soil and Margarita says, just so you know, you are the channel that I listen and watch while I make dinner. You rock.
Awesome.
So cool. Thank you guys for all these encouraging, awesome comments.
You're more than welcome to come and make us dinner while we talk.
Yeah.
I'll take it. Any meal I can get without having to cook it right now. I feel like I'm cooking all the time.
Do we prefer a particular brand of seed? No, I mean,
not really. We've kind of used more of the Johnny's and Harris, but we've also used Park and Burpee. The reason why I started using Johnny's and Harris the most is because that's what my dad used a lot of, with, you know, being the main seeder and grower of 40 large greenhouses. It's, you know, if he's telling me that there's great germination, then you know, I'm like, okay. So I've had great germination rate as well with them, but we've been spreading out, and I feel like, you know, Park and Burpee have been great too, but I still think that, I mean, my honest opinion so far between the four, I do feel like, you know, Johnny's and Harris have, for us personally, this may be different for others, personally has been the better germination rate for us, but I guess it also depends on the varieties.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I mean, I get some different types of varieties from the other companies that, you know, are maybe more specialty. So maybe they, you know, they don't always have the most germination rate, but I still am evaluating it by those,
right.
You know, but there's so many great seed companies out there, so I'm not just saying limiting it to that. So if you're listening and you're a gardener and you have a seed company that you absolutely love using and have great success with, feel free to share that in the comments below, so that way everybody can learn from where you get your seeds.
So Sandy says, Casey, I finally found the courage to cut and pinch after all of your encouragement. It was hard to cut off my first bloom. Love all your knowledge and the way you share it with us.
Aw, awesome. Good job, Sandy. Way to go.
Yep.
Way to go. Well, just know that in your garden, it'll come back for you, and it will just give you so much once it's outside.
And Christine and Suzanne, thank you so much for all of your comments.
Watching.
Super encouraging. It's really cool.
Oh, Selah.
Oh boy. We almost lost everybody there for a minute.
Everyone and Selah.
It's really exciting to think about, you know, things that that could be happening and are happening. And, let's see here. Any more questions? Cheers from the sunny Philippines. That sounds amazing. Does the bloodleaf banana bear any fruit, or if it has, is it edible?
It's supposed to be just an ornamental, and I don't know for sure. I guess I should really do my research on it, considering we love it so much, but it's mainly just an ornamental. So I'll have to look that up, and, you know, Google's a good tool.
Right. Let's see. What are the zonal geraniums?
So that's kind of like a cut geranium as well. But for us, the zonal are actually more too like a kind of like a Martha Washington. They sometimes have more of like the textured ripple leaf, more of like the multi-color kind of a flower, and they're gorgeous as well. So we grew. The only thing that I kind of am like with is so 2 years ago we put one in a container and it was absolutely gorgeous. I think it was called like Candy Tuft or something like that. It was just absolutely amazing, but every single day it would recycle its flowers. So it was like I was out there deadheading. Do you remember that pink one on the corner? I was like, it's so pretty, but every day
oh yes,
I kept having, it was just like so much work. I was like,
so that was another one that's cool, but
it was gorgeous,
lot of maintenance
again.
there. Lana, do you want to introduce your friend down there? Come on. No?
It's okay.
Okay. So what's her name?
Elodie.
And is this one of Elodie's favorite outfits?
Mm-hmm.
And what does Elodie have in her backpack?
Her cat.
Her little kitty that looks kind of like Fuzzy.
Yep.
Right?
And I have one that's Emma.
Emma.
But Emma's not here right now.
Yeah.
So somebody asks, what are our thoughts on the coronavirus pandemic? So,
well,
hopefully that's not a loaded question.
We don't really have many thoughts
oh, I got
on
thoughts.
it.
I'm cold.
I mean, you know, I'm not like.
Mainly just because like it's like I feel like every channel is something different. So all that we're doing is literally just doing what we're told.
Yeah, I guess
and being safe, washing our hands. If we have to go somewhere to pick something up, You know, we mask it, sanitize it, and you know,
Yep.
we do our part.
It's just it's such a complete unknown to where, for me, I always have this battle in my head, like, okay, is it really everything that we're maybe being like scared into thinking? Is it not? There's just too much unknown to where we've pretty much taken the position
And
that
that's only
we're
because
gonna
it's
stay home and as much as we can.
It's never
and-
happened before. It's
Right.
just it's insane, and it's really sad to just see how it's affecting people. Not only the people getting the virus, but also the people who are losing a lot through it. Whether it's lives, jobs, homes, businesses.
Yeah.
It's just very upsetting for us to even
And
see it.
so where we are too, we're in Wisconsin. We have far fewer cases than other areas because somebody just said that they live in Boston and it's crazy. And I can believe that. I mean, we where we live, we don't have another neighbor for hundreds of yards. So we're not in areas where there's lots of people, and just again, Wisconsin on its own has far less cases than a lot of other states, so it's different for each state. I
Yeah.
mean, I feel like we haven't had to worry about it as much just because.
Well, because we're staying home, we're doing our part, and I feel like if you do your part, you really don't have too much to worry about unless you're, financially hurting, or there's someone in your family has it, or someone in your family is in the hospital for something and they get it. I mean, there's so many worries, and even those that have members that are passing, they can't have this big funeral to remember their loved ones, or people who have had to cancel their weddings, and businesses that are going under because they can't open. There's just so many things that are going into it, and it's just really sad to see. And I just feel like the only thing we can really do is just do our part.
So a couple people have said that they're glad that and happy to be at home because they love their home. We feel the same way. I mean, we're happy that we are able to spend more time with the kids and be here at our home and in our gardens.
Yeah.
It's
been a slowdown, that's for sure.
Right, and all of this, the gardening and everything has definitely been something that's helped us through. And
don't you like our videos?
Well, we've got the whole family here. Should we say farewell until next time?
Maybe we should each say what we're thankful for right now.
Do you want to say, Lana? No.
Sayla, do you want to tell everyone what you're thankful for?
Okay.
No.
I will. But
Well,
okay, Lana will.
Okay.
I'm just thinking of one.
Oh, she's thinking of one. Okay. I'm thankful for this extra time with Casey, with the girls, being outside, just appreciating, this, right now, the family, our surroundings, just appreciating and taking notice of this more than I normally would when things are super busy with the other part of my life. So
yeah, I'm thankful for being able to have Jason and the girls to be around and to spend time with, and to have those around me that love me and that want to actually spend time with me and that actually love my meals. I'm thankful for the fact that we're able to have our own food in nice meals when we sit down. I'm thankful for it not being winter and being the time of the year it is right now, to be able to keep us busy and occupied. I'm thankful for the girls being home and this special time that we have with them, and being able to just have that extra time to really watch them grow and become the people that they will be. And and I'm thankful for all of you that are just always so kind and positive and supportive, and help us get through and create, and just always just so good to us. And I mean, we're truly blessed.
absolutely. Lana, you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm grateful for the whole world. Really? Because the mainly thing that I'm actually really thankful for is my whole entire family.
Oh.
My cousins, Mom, Sayla, Dad, and Fuzzy and Chili and me.
Aw,
Grandpa
that's great.
And my grandma and grandpas.
Yeah.
And aunts and uncles.
Aw.
Yep, there you go. I think we got them all, right?
And what about you, Selah?
I'm thankful for the coronavirus.
She means
Well-
being at home.
Being at home, yeah. Yeah.
I think she just loves that Lana's at home with her all the time now.
Yeah.
Is that what you love?
Yeah, because I get to sneak in a room and eat candy.
I don't know if you guys heard that, but Selah said she's thankful that Lana's home so she can sneak in her room and eat candy.
All right.
And
Well,
eat all the old candy.
well, I think that's
Yeah.
that's gonna do it, right?
Yep.
No,
We'll
Mama
see you guys
thing.
next Wednesday at 3 o'clock, unless something
Mama
changes
thing,
for some
Mama
reason.
thing, Mama
We'll put a
thing,
post
Mama
out.
thing, Mama
Oh,
thing.
okay, okay.
I'm thankful for my doll.
Your doll?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, thank you
Well-
so much for watching today, you guys. I hope you enjoyed the live, and we'll be back next Wednesday at 3 p.m. Central Time with all of your questions, and we'll try to have most of the answers for you.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.